G'day and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I want to show you how you can improve your thoracic rotation. Now, thoracic rotation is really important for a number of reasons, some of which are that your thoracic spine or your rib cage, normal function there allows your neck to function normally, it allows your shoulders to function normally, it obviously allows your back and chest to function normally, but also your lower back as well. So if you're someone who has some pain in any of those areas, but also loves to swing a golf club, maybe you do something at work all day where you need to twist and move, maybe you surf, maybe you paddle, you do some activity that uses that part of your body. I want to go through some exercises today that will chip away at some of the foundational reasons why you can't rotate as far as you should be able to. So before we get into this, obviously, as we always do here, we need to make sure that we start with a really simple baseline movement so that you can get a sense of exactly how far you go, but also the quality of how it feels when you do that. What I'll get you to do first before you do these exercises is if you can sit up nice and tall, obviously you don't have to be on the floor, you can do it on a chair if it's easier for you. You cross your arms across your chest, and have your elbows up if that's comfortable, and trying to be up nice and tall in a good posture. Literally imagine that there's a rod going through the center of your head, down through your spine and out your bottom. And we want to basically rotate around that rod. Now, it's important to make sure that you aren't slouching when you do this, because it will change the amount of range of motion that you will have. Plus, it's harder to sort of mirror that again at the end of the exercises so that it's consistent and you can get a really good instant understanding of any changes that you may have made. So again, crossing your arms across your chest, up nice and tall, rod through your spine, rod through your back. Rotate all the way as far as you feel you can go in one direction. Take note of where that is. And then do the same thing in the other direction and take note of where that is as well. But obviously, if you can take a visual or pause the video, take a screenshot to see where I get to here and where I get to here, what I'm expecting to feel is once I go through each of these 3 different exercises, I should be able to physically go further straight away. So the first exercise that we want to go through is one that we tend to gravitate towards a lot on the channel. A ball exercise is a fantastic way to find segmental spinal joint stiffness and encourage that to mobilize and to give. What we want to do when we're targeting the rotation through your thoracic spine, the first involves the joints of that rib cage. And I'll throw a graphic up on the screen here, but as you can see, the rib cage is basically made up of the individual spinal joints in between each thoracic vertebra, but there's also a joint where each rib attaches into that spine. All of these should move when we move. And one of the hidden underlying causes of a lot of stiffness through that thoracic spine are joint restrictions. So taking a ball, in this case a lacrosse ball or 2 balls taped together like a peanut, is a fantastic way to find exactly where you feel your restrictions might be, and then allow us to improve those very quickly and see hopefully an instant change in your ability to rotate to the side. So all we want to get you to do, and again we do this a lot on the channel, is you want to basically start from the base of your rib cage all the way up to the base of your neck or the top of that rib cage, but we want to just be off to the side. Now, as the graphic showed before, if we're just off to the bump in the middle, then we're going to be more on the thoracic spinal joints. If we come out a fraction wider again, we're going to be more on those costovertebral joints or those rib joints as they attach in. So on each side of the spine, there should be 2 sections that feel stiff and tight that you can influence with the ball that when improved should allow you to twist better through that thoracic spine. So again, I'm going to start right down the base here, lean on the ball, choose a spot that's just next to the spine. We don't want to roll around on the ball. Again, it's not necessarily specific enough and accurate enough to target the joints themselves. So once you've put the ball into your back, just gently and slowly move it up and down until you find something that feels tender, stiff, tight, or restricted. For me on this side, it feels like the ball sinks in a lot easier, which tells me that this doesn't feel as restricted. When I compare it to the exact same spot on this side, it genuinely feels a bit harder, a bit stiffer. The ball doesn't sink in as well as it does on the other side. When we're trying to problem solve where those hidden handbrakes are that are stopping you from opening up to twist to one side or to close down to twist to the other side, pay close attention to which parts of your spine and your rib cage feel harder, stiffer, and tougher, and not just tender or sore. And what we want to get you to do here, as soon as you've found that spot, Literally just stay here, let the ball gently press in. Again, don't roll around. Give it a chance to sink into that joint, potentially encourage that joint to move and to open up a little bit more. Once you've spent a little bit of time here, I'll get you to move out a little bit further again. And whether it's just a centimeter or half an inch or so, you should find that when you come out a little bit wider, there's also another section or an area that feels tough and stiff as well. And this again is most likely to be the costovertebral joints or the rib joints. Now, when you come out to a little bit wider here, I'll encourage you to take some deep breaths into the ball. And the reason why we do this is because obviously when you take a deep breath in, that rib cage should expand, and in theory, those joints should naturally move a little bit when you take that deep breath in. So not only do we want to put some pressure through the joint to encourage it to open and move more, but if we also can encourage movement through that exact same area, we're more likely to see a change in the mobility of that area that again you'll see sort of come out when you do your thoracic rotation at the end. And then again, just once you've found that, find a spot a little bit high that feels a little bit stiff, repeat that process, be in the middle, be off to the side, see how you feel there. And then I'm going to come up a little bit higher now in the middle of my thoracic spine, almost at the base of that base of the shoulder blade, sorry. And I know for me that I tend to be a little bit stiff in this area. So again, I'm just off to the left or off to this side of the spine down the middle, looking for that mid-thoracic spinal joint. I'm going to let the ball gently press in here. I'm going to give it a second to give. Then again, just move the ball out a little bit wider onto the thoracic rib joint and start to take some deep breaths into that area. And when you take that deep breath in, really try and breathe into the ball. Really try and make that as specific as humanly possible. And if it is tender to begin with, you should find that as it starts to mobilize, it should start to feel less tender and a little bit more comfortable straight away. And then again, once you've done that, what we should instantly feel here is if you've made any change to any one of those joints, when you come back into the same posture once again, and then you twist around to that side, you should automatically feel like it goes a little bit further than it did before. And for me, visually, and hopefully you can see this as well, it feels like my elbows are almost pointing around to 90 degrees now, whereas I feel like it was a little bit more off on an angle there. So what I've done here is on this side, I've taken some of the stiffness out of the joints so that they can open up as I twist around. I don't have that anchor going around there at the moment. And with any luck, when I twist back around to this side, I should also feel like it goes a little bit further as well, which it does to me. And again, hopefully you can see that. Because now that I've taken out that handbrake on the left-hand side here, it can now move through that joint a little bit better without running into a block. So that's the first exercise that I think is really helpful to try and clear some of that hidden underlying joint and rib joint stiffness that can genuinely be impeding your ability to twist and move and even take a deep breath through that thoracic spine. So the second exercise that I want to touch on here moves away from the spinal and rib joints and more towards the soft tissue or the muscular restrictions that we tend to see. What I'll get you to do again, being up nice and tall, I'm going to get you to gently rotate towards the side that you want to work on. You can use your other arm to block that position. Take your chest all the way around. You can leverage off of your leg as well. So if you twist a little bit further, what I want you to do here is wherever you feel a little bit of tightness, and for me, I can sort of feel that around here towards the other side a little bit. You go to a point where you feel some restriction, try and squeeze that restriction for about 5 to 10 seconds, get everything involved. And once you stop tensing, it creates this reflexive relaxation that happens at the tissue that you were tensing, which should then mean automatically that you can twist a little bit further than you could before. And then if you take, again, a deep breath in, into that tightness, give it a squeeze, hold that for about 5 to 10 seconds. And then when you relax, again, you should be able to twist a little bit further than what you could before. Obviously, we want to do both sides. So twist back around again. Go as far as you feel comfortable, keeping your chest up nice and tall. Want to take a deep breath into that spot. Give it a squeeze. Tense everything in that area. Squeeze my abs, squeeze my rib cage. Hold that for 5 to 10 seconds. And then when I relax, surprise, surprise, I should be able to twist a little bit further than what I could before, and then repeat that process. So it's a really, really great and effective, fast-acting technique to try and get through some of that muscular restriction that might be holding you back. And then again, just to retest things again, when you twist all the way around again, it should feel like it goes further than it did the first time you did it. And again, going in both directions, hopefully you should feel like there's a little bit more range of motion to play with. And then if you've done the rib joint stuff and the spinal joint stuff beforehand, you should feel like the dial is shifting consistently each time you tend to do that. So the third way to improve your thoracic rotation is to incorporate some strength or some activity into the mix. So all I've got here is I've got a Theraband attached to something that's not going to move off camera. But what I'd like you to do here is, if you can be up nice and tall and then twist to one side, have your arms out straight in front of you. Depending on how hard this is for you, you can have your arms closer. But I like to have my arms out straight, and we're going to get you to twist and rotate all the way around and then come back again, as far as you feel comfortable. Again, imagining that you have a rod going through the top of your head all the way down through your spine in towards your bottom, just to make sure that you're not losing that good position. But it also gives you a framework to rotate around. And the reason why this is so good is because, again, if there's some muscular stiffness, some muscular tightness or some joint stiffness, engaging that with movement is a really great way to shear free any of that restriction. But the other thing too is, by doing this with resistance, we give a lot of the muscles that twist you and rotate you the chance to activate and then fatigue and come back stronger. So again, if you're quite stiff and tight, and we'll get into why that tends to be in a second, the stronger you are through this part of your body, gives your body less reason to become stiff and tight, because you have the muscular strength and support to handle that situation. And then come all the way back again, and then obviously turning around and doing it the other way as well. Then once you've done a set of 10 or a set of 15, a set of 20, whatever you feel comfortable with, not only should you feel like you've had a little bit of a workout, but again, when you twist to one side, and for me, I feel like I can go a lot further around than what I could before, going to the left there, and then coming to this way, I feel like I can go further and further again. I can always get my elbow to the wall there, even though I didn't go to that side. Again, I've taken out some of the restriction through that range of motion, and both directions should benefit. And so the final thing that I really wanted to touch on when we're trying to improve that thoracic rotation, whether it be for neck, shoulder and back purposes, or just general health and fitness purposes, is that we need to understand why it's become stiff and tight in the first place. The quality of the positions that you put that part of your body in the most throughout the day count. And when we're trying to understand what you need to tweak and fix in order to stop that stiffness and that tightness from coming back again once you've done these exercises, we need to have a very open-minded, honest conversation about the quality of your postures day to day. So for most people, that tends to look like a sitting position, and that can be anything throughout the day. It can be how you sit at the table reading the newspaper or using your phone. If you like to sit down and read, if you have to drive in the car or a truck all day, if you're someone who obviously sits at a computer using that computer, even if you've had a long day on your feet all day, but then you spend an hour or two sitting on the couch, sitting on a recliner, sitting on a comfortable chair before you go to bed, or even while you're in bed, sitting up and reading a book or doing something like that. The activity that you do doesn't matter anywhere near as much as the position that you're in while you're doing that. And what I tend to find clinically is that if you know that this section of your back is the really stiff section of your spine and your rib cage, and that when you release that, it twisted a lot further and moved a lot further, it's very likely that the reason why that part of your back has become stiff and tight in the first place is that instead of being up nice and tall, you're probably sinking through that part of your back unknowingly for a lot of time throughout the day, or have been doing so for a long time. And creating that hinge point in the spine, essentially what it does is it increases the amount of load in that area. So if we're ever going to get to the stage where you feel loose through that midsection of your spine and you don't feel like you have to keep doing these exercises, if you're not trying to improve your awareness and the application of good postures, then you might find that you're just going around in a vicious circle without ever really getting off and going on to something else. And this is especially important for anyone who is an athlete or does anything athletic that they want to improve that extra rotation for, because you shouldn't have to keep working on it if the quality of your positions outside of being athletic are good enough. So I genuinely hope that was helpful for you. If it was, please let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you need that rotation for, whether it is for athletic purposes, whether you have some neck, shoulder or lower back pain, or even mid-back pain, chest pain, costochondritis, whatever it might be. Let me know what you're dealing with and how this video has gone for you. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and leave a like rating on the video if you did find it helpful. And if you genuinely did find some benefit from this, please consider leaving a super thanks donation on the video. It's just a great way to help support me and the channel going forwards. But with that being said, I hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.